Okay, so my eyes are done, and I've gone ahead and done my nose. And because it's black yarn, I'm actually going to do this with you guys using the hot pink. It's super easy to do, but it's always important that I show you things in a manner in which you can see them. And if you wanted to, you could do this in the pink, but because this is supposed to be a skeletal face, usually the nose is done in a darker color. So I'm going to take you through how to do the nose and the mouth actually, which is super simple. As you can see, it's just a bunch of chains, and then we are going to stitch this up. So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go on and talk about the nose. So you will start with a slip stitch, and you can do that in whatever way you are comfortable with. And what we're going to do here is we are going to chain 8. Okay. Once you have your 8 chains, what we want to do is we want to find the 5th chain from your hook. Remember that we never count the loop that's on your hook. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that would be the 5th V here. What we're going to do is we're going to do a double crochet into that 5th chain. So we'll yarn over, insert, and we'll just resolve a double crochet as usual. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is a half double crochet into the very next chain. So you'll yarn over as usual, and the next chain is right there. You're going to pull through, and your stitches will get stretched a bit, and that is okay. And now into the very next chain, we're going to do a single crochet. So that means you're just going to insert right away, pull through, and pull through again. And we have one more stitch left, and we are going to slip stitch into that one. So what we've done is we've decreased the height of our stitches as we've gone along, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to pull this through and fasten off, just like I did here with the black, okay? So it probably looks like a bit of a teardrop shape, but what you want to do when we sew this on to our bag is you want to pull out that chain that we had at the beginning, which ends up being a chain of 3, or a chain of 4, I should say. One of those chains is the base chain. You're just going to kind of stretch that out. So this becomes the bottom 2 corners of your nose, and then the tip of your triangle will then become the top part of your nose. So that's how we get that triangular shape happening. There's a few other ways you can do it, but I found that this will probably be the easiest one and quickest for you to do and be able to see your stitches. So that's how you make your nose. You're going to fasten off. Before you do that, leave yourself a bit of a tail, which is what I did here, because that tail is what we're going to use to then sew our nose onto our bag. So that's what you want to do for that. Let's talk about the mouth next. So for the mouth, all you're going to do, and I've already got mine done here, is you're going to start with a slip stitch, just like we did before, and you're going to do a chain of 20. Now, I did 20. You can do 30, you can do 15, whatever length you think you would like for your mouth. So for me, the chain of 20 I found was a good length, and I'm going to make mine smile. Some people might keep theirs straight, but because these Day of the Dead skulls are usually very festive, very happy, so I'm going to make mine smiling a bit. So for me, I found that 20 chains was fantastic. So that's what you're going to do, and then you're going to leave quite a long tail, and I'll show you why once we sew on our mouth applique. So I would maybe just kind of run the length of your chain of 20 maybe about 4 or 5 times. It's always better to have a little extra left over than not enough. So once you've got that, you will now have all your appliques ready to go. I have 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth applique. So if you haven't done this one yet, just give the video a quick little pause, do up your chain stitches, fasten off at the end, so I have 20 for my mouth, and then come back and we're going to talk about sewing our appliques onto our little bag. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to center where you'd like your eyes to go. So I've already sewn one of my eyes on, and now you might find that that might be too high. In fact, after the fact I did, but it's fine. I'm willing to work with it that way. So just make sure that you do set your project down and see where you would like your eyes to be. And so what I did is I kind of gauged it by where my handle is. So I knew this center loop wanted to be kind of centered to the eyes. So that's why I'm going to center mine like that. And what you can do is use a safety pin to hold one down while you're sewing the other one if you're worried that you might lose where your spot was. So I'm going to take you through how I am going to sew mine down here. So what you want to do is you want to take your darning needle and just thread it through. Thread your tail through there. And the beautiful thing about working with black yarn is you can just go back and forth and sew your thread forward and back, and it just gets all hidden in the color here. So I'm just going to bring this up a little closer so we can see. So I am putting mine right about there. So again, my center eyelet is going to come right down the middle where the nose will be. And yeah, I got a little excited and I put this a little higher. I probably would recommend going a bit lower. And in fact, because this is Halloween, I am actually going to leave mine a little bit lower for an effect, just to kind of give it a googly eye effect. And that way you can see the frame of the skull a little bit more. So what you want to do, and I want you to notice one thing, if you look inside, you can't really see where the thread went through. You don't have to do that. You can just go straight through your stitches and come back out because it is the inside of the bag, but I tend to like to make everything uniform. So what I'm going to do is start where my tail is coming out of. So we're going to start right about there. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. And generally, I am going to just try and pick up the loops facing me. So see how I'm just picking up these loops like that? I actually am not trying to go all the way to the back. I'm just trying to pick up a few loops. Oops. Just like that. And then I'm going to poke right through to the front of my eyeball. And I'm making sure that I've picked up a loop on the black. And I'm coming right through the front because, again, the black is just going to blend in with each other. And if you look at the back, you don't really see where the seam went in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in through. So you want to insert now your needle to go to the back. So I'm always trying to pick up some loops here. So I'm going to go into this next one, at least into each of the double crochets that were created here, just so I know that it's getting very secure as we go along the way. And then I'm just picking up another loop anywhere around here. That'll work. And then I'm pulling it through. And see, now this black, even though it came to the front, is just going to blend right in. And so you can see that my applique is getting nicely secured there. And now I'm going to go up through the front again. Whoops. And I'm just going to find another spot here, making sure to move along the applique so that I'm rounding the bend here. There we go. And that's it. And that's what I'm going to do all the way around. So there you can see it's coming up. So now maybe I'm going to go in the next little stitch that I've made there, a loop. There we go. And then I'm going to pick up a loop or two right around there. There we go. And then pull that through. That's it. So you're going to do that all the way around until you come back to your starting point, and then you can weave in back and forth a few times and tie a couple of knots, and your eyeball applique is good to go. So I will leave you to do that, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about sewing on our nose. Okay, so once you've got your eyes on, now it's time to do our nose. So I just wanted to make sure that my nose was somewhat centered here. And I don't want it too far down, but I also don't want it too far up as well. So that will totally be up to you. I've already threaded my tail through. And as always, if you feel more secure pinning this down first and then sewing on, by all means go ahead. Now, the nose is smaller and can be a little bit finickier. So as you can see, I was able to sew my eyes on and really not show any threads. It's not a big deal if you do. Again, it's the inside of the bag, and in fact, for the nose, it might be a little more persnickety, so I say do what works for you. So I know I've got the black yarn here, but the principle of this is the same. I'm going to start up here because this is where the end of my tail is, and I'm just going to go along each stitch. I'm going to try to keep my stitches inside the loops. Okay, and I'm just going to weave in, just picking up a loop as usual, and then in this case I'm going to try and make sure I go through each loop that is in the base of my stitch here. And I know pretty much all you're seeing is black, but once you take a look at your work, you'll know where to go. So there's going to be loops all the way around your nose here because of how we did the stitches. So all you want to do is always grab one as you go along the way, and this will guarantee that your nose will completely stay secured. So I know it's pretty hard to see with the black. Hopefully there, that's okay. So you're going out and then you're going back in down into the next loop. And I am just picking up that loop there. Again, you can go all the way through the back. That is a-okay. Just like that. Okay. You're going to do that all the way around until you have secured your nose. Once you're done, I would then, once you come up to the end here, I would then knot my long tail to my short one, and then you can hide your tails underneath, in and out of the black again, and then you're ready to get started on your mouth. So I'm going to continue on, and then I'll meet you for the mouth. All right, once you have your nose, your two eyes, we're now ready to move on to the mouth. So this can absolutely be approximate, because the more imperfect it is, the better it looks. So I'm just going to roughly set my mouth there. So this is my chain of 20 with my super long tail. And for this one, I am now going to go straight through the back and the front because it's just too thin. And the effect is I do want to have some stitching going across the mouth, and I'm going to explain that to you in a second. So I'm going to go in through the first chain right there, and I'm actually going to pull my tail all the way through to the back. Okay, so at least then it will be fairly secure. Once it's through, I am now going to find the next chain. It could be the very next chain or a couple of chains over. It doesn't really matter, as long as I secure the chain itself to the face of the bag. Okay, so pull it all the way through. Now I'm going to start, as I go along, I'm going to start giving this mouth a stitched effect. And I think you'll know what I mean once I start doing it. So now what I want to do, now that I've pulled up, I want to go about a row higher than where I want the mouth to be. And you can do this more or less. It's completely up to you. I'm going to right now go 1 row higher wherever there's an opening. So you can see now the black is coming across. And then I want to find my way somewhere around the opening below it. And it could be further down. I'm just choosing to do this row here. And I'm going to bring the thread up through the front. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in to where I came out of. Sorry guys, I know this is tricky to see. Into the original loop to begin with. So I'm going to go back in through the back, pulling it all the way through so that I have this stitched effect. So I think now you'll understand what I mean by the stitched effect. A lot of skull type cartoons will have this type of effect on the mouth. So that's what I'm aiming for. So I've gone through the back. Now I'm going to go back in, and as you can see, it's showing up through the back, and that's a-okay. Okay, so now I'm going to go a little bit further down and just kind of come through to make sure that's it. I want to always make sure that the chain itself will be secured to the bag, because that is the whole point. Okay, then I pull it up until the whole tail is up, nice and secure. And then again, I'm going to find a spot on the top loop. Now, it doesn't have to be perfectly even. In fact, the more uneven it is, the better. But for now, I'm just going to go back in through this next space there, just like that. And then I'm going to come up through the center. Again, goal is always to secure that chain. And this time I think I want to go down a bit further. So maybe I'm going to go down to about there. And then I'll pull back up to here. So that way. There we go. So I think you can kind of get the idea of what I'm going for. Now, if you wanted to make yours completely straight, go for it. I would like mine to be smiling a wee bit. So I'm going to make sure to dip my chain down a little bit lower. So now when I insert my hook in there, I'm going to maybe pull this chain down a bit further on an angle. You can see that? So instead of going straight, I'm just going on an angle. I'm going to insert through there. And however, you know, if you like to whip stitch it or just go back and forth through the back and through the front, completely up to you. I just wanted you to see that this is the effect I'm going for. And now I'm going to find a space around here. Maybe I'm going to pick that one there. I'm going to come up through there. And you could actually go right through to the bottom, but I really want to make sure that my chain is secure. So I'm always going to use that chain as the anchor. I'm going to go in through the chain, and then since I'm here, I'm just going to find my exit that way. Now, if you do it like I just did, be careful you don't sew the front to the back of your bag. So there we go. And now I'm going to go back in through the center, which is my chain. That's it. There we go. Now you can see, definitely see the effect we're going for. You can spread them out and keep them a little closer, whatever you desire. So I'm going to do one more of these with you, and then I'm going to set you loose because I think you get the gist of what's happening here. So I'm just going to push through another one of my chains, and I'm going to go in through the space and come back. Now, every time I do that, I also want to lay my work flat, so I want to make sure nothing inadvertently buckles and it all looks somewhat uniform. And then I'm going to pick another one here and then make sure that it comes up through center. There we go. So you can see the effect that's happening there. And so you're going to do that all the way around, however you want to shape your mouth. If you want it to go kind of wonky down sideways, you can. Like I said, mine's going to smile. So I'm going to keep doing my little stitches all the way to the end. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to poke that small tail to the back, and my remaining tail, I'm going to tie a knot in the back and snip it off. And my face will be done. So go ahead and finish your mouth. Then we still have to do our little cinch top at the top. Okay, so here is the face of our CoCo inspired trick-or-treat bag. Many of you will identify this with the Day of the Dead festivities and the type of motifs that they use. But I'm pretty happy with that, how that came out. So we've got our round bottom here, so it'll sit nicely. I just adjust that a wee bit. And so then we can also cinch the top, and it'll sit there full of goodies. And in fact, when I give this as a gift, I will include some goodies in there. So you can see how the rounded bottom kind of helps it sit like a face. So now all we have to do is create a little bit of a tie for the top. So on trick-or-treat day, most likely the child will be carrying it this way and be able to open it quite easily. We'll just have the tie here loosely for an option, and then later on, if they want to use it as decor or to cinch something a little bit more securely, they can. So I thought we would introduce or reintroduce our yellow, just to kind of offset with the pink here. So super easy. We're going to reintroduce our yellow yarn here, and we are going to just do some chains. Okay, so you're going to create a slip knot, however works best for you. And now we're just going to chain a length of chains that will go, and yours may vary depending on how tightly or loosely you crochet. You want your chain to measure at least once around the circumference of the opening of your bag. It is recommended that you do leave a little bit of a drape as well. So I would say to do the circumference of 1.5 around your bag. So that maybe that's going to be 40 chains for you, maybe that's going to be 100. So what you want to do is just go ahead and chain up a length that you feel will work best for your bag. And for this, I do recommend actually chaining a little bit tighter than you normally would. So if you feel like you need to go down a hook size, so I'm still using my 5mm, you can go down to a 4.5 or a 4. But in general, if you can just remember just to chain a wee bit tighter, it'll just give your cinch tie here a little bit more sustenance. So go ahead and chain the length that you desire. I'm going to finish mine, so you see how I'm keeping it a little bit tighter. And then just leave a bit of it. You don't need a long tail. I mean, this is plenty for your other side. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet up with you when you've chained your desired length. Okay, so I have done 115 chains for my bag. So I just made sure that went around the circumference once and a little bit extra. So I'm just going to snip off here and then just pull that through. And so what we want to do now is we just want to feed it through our opening. Now, what I would like to have happen is this center eyelet here, I'd like to have my tie coming out there. So that way it comes down through the nose. It's just my particular thing. You might want yours to cinch on the side, completely up to you. So all you're going to do is you're just going to weave this in and out of your eyelets. And those of you that actually did my tutorial on the shoe bag with the cinch top, or even actually the wine bottle tutorial, and if you haven't, I'll make sure to put a link to it at the end of this video, as well as in the bottom, the description box down below. It is very similar in nature. So I'm just going in and then out, just lacing it through. Pretty easy. Okay, so I have thread my tie through, so you can see I love how that yellow contrasts against the pink. Now, what I realized is that I have one eyelet too many to create the effect that I wanted to come out through here. I mean, you can finagle with it in different ways, but it's not a really big deal. So it's not perfectly centered, but now what we want to do, just so that this cinch doesn't get lost, like some people would just leave this as is and then maybe just create a little bit of a tie here, just like that, which you absolutely can do. But because this is going to be handled by a child and it may get pulled and it may get, you know, pulled through and then the string gets lost, what I recommend you do is actually tie these two ends together, just like this. And that way they can open the bag or they can cinch it shut and they'll never lose their cinch string, I call it. Just like that. That's pretty secure. I'm going to do that one more time because I like the knot to sit right at the base of those chain stitches. So I'm just going to make sure. There we go. Just like that. And then I'm just going to trim these to be the same length, and you are good to go. So you can just carry it nice and easily like that, or if you want, you can pull that long end to the back so that your face is nice and visible. Or when not in use and maybe full of their goodies, you can cinch it shut and tie a little bow, and you are good to go. I love how that came out. I think it's a great way to design a trick-or-treat bag. It's a little bit different, and actually something that's more identifiable for the child. So you can, of course, customize this any way you like. But I'm so happy with how that came out. So here you have it. This is the CoCo inspired trick-or-treat bag. We use the round-based bottom. We've got a cinch tie at the top, along with two handles that are really easy to open up and get those treats in there. So gang, I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me on this week's tutorial on the CoCo inspired trick-or-treat bag. It is always my pleasure to work on these things with you. If you have any questions, definitely, you can always leave me a comment down below or pop me an email directly. Like I said, I'm going to leave a quick little link to the wine bottle tutorial up here and one to the shoe bag tutorial up there. And don't forget to click subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. We upload every Wednesday. In the meantime, happy crocheting and take care.